Okay, guys, welcome to the last course on the crime scene cleanups training. My name is Adam Nagy. I'm the founder of Guards Cleaning Crew. And what we're going to talk about over here is the most crucial, the most critical part of actually doing the cleanup is how to handle the client psychologically and how to handle yourself as well psychologically. But why is this important? The most important reason is, as I've mentioned in the last video on the feces cleanup, is that you want to reduce the amount of friction that you're going to face when you deal with the clients, right? The easier it is for you to get in and get out, the better it is for you, so that you don't have any fuzz, you don't have to deal with any complaining and all that stuff. From years of doing this kind of work, I know that, where things may become a hurdle and where clients might start to complain and stuff like that. And of course, over the years, we have built a system of how to handle that from the time we show up at the job site. So how do we do that? Is communicate, act, take responsibility, and no complaining. The first point is about presentation, how you present yourself. So as much as you're going to appear as being professional, the less headaches you're going to have, right? Now, if you show up over there, it doesn't matter, even if you can be the best crime scene cleaner, but if you show up as a homeless person, smell like a homeless person, then you know what, you're going to face hurdles, you're going to face resistance from the clients. You don't want that. The person that you're going to be dealing with most likely is going through an emotional situation, so you don't want to add on to the burden. You want to reduce the burden. You're being present over there to reduce the burden, the psychological burden, and as well as the physical burden which is present in front of them. So first thing is reach before time. You build trust from every action you do right. So being professional, physical presentation, how you appear. Always wear your blue gloves whenever you're going to meet the client, right? So what happens is, again, you appear to be a person who knows their line of work, not just going over there as if, with the shirt hanging out and being like a cool guy. Cool guy is the one who's going to have troubles, problems, many questions to be asked. So you don't want that. But the ideal way that you can appear in front of the client is to be serious. As I mentioned in many different videos, you want to be the person who has the attitude that I got this. Give me the keys or show me the place where the location is of the job site and I got this, right? So have at least your safety glasses on you as well. Okay, invest in having a toolbox that you can wheel around. So again, you look professional. As I mentioned, the more professional you look, guys, the less questions you're going to have, especially as you're starting out. Walk straight, don't walk with your back bent over. Walk straight, chest up, shoulders back, right? Talking. Again, talk like you got this. Say what you're going to do in a strong, confident manner, and that's it. Get started with whatever needs to be done. Any keys given by client, make sure you put it on your own keychain so you don't lose it. It's very important, extremely important, that if you give you, in all these years of existence, 6.5 years, guys, I've never lost one key, because the moment they give the key to me, I right away in front of them put it on my keychain. I don't, put it in my pocket and forget about it. And then when the work is complete, I return the key back, because my own keychain, I know I have my own house keys on it, so I know I'm not going to lose it, right? So I'm very careful about it. Now, when a client is present, only be talking in English. You may be knowing some other languages, but when you're present in front of the client, the only business language is English. Even if the client speaks your own language, it'll be much better if you communicate from the point when you start on in English language. Again, as I mentioned, guys, from experience, I know that down the line, they may be acting friendly beginning and stuff like that, but when things start to go wrong, right, that's when you will start facing problems, and this friendly behavior, friendliness is not going to work at that point. At that time, what you want to establish is boundaries. Boundaries are created by saying that I'm going to speak in this language, and this is the English professional language. Whatever request you have from me, just tell me what that language. And even if they start the conversation by talking to you in your language, you should always respond back in English, right? It tells them, it gives them the message that this guy is serious. Okay. Now, again, when you go over there, no need to be talking to your friend or taking phone calls from your friend. You're there to perform a task. That is also a very important part of being professional. You do not go over there to hang out. It's not a casual hangout scene over there. Yeah, there's a death cleanup in the back of the house, and so I'm just gonna smoke my cigarette and talk to my friend for a bit before I go inside. No, it's not a socializing event over there. You are there to perform a task and be serious and get to it. Okay. So part of being professional is how you handle yourself with the client and how you're able to overcome challenges of things not working out. The client is watching you, like they're seeing that, okay, well, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. How did he handle it? That shows that you have confidence, that shows that you have calmness, that shows that you have a game plan of how to handle things. And what about when the client criticizes you? How do you handle that? That is also a very important part of being an adult, of being a professional. Handling clients. So, listen to any information that the client has to give to you. At the same time, being confident in your response. And the initial stages when they ask you a question is to guide them in a confident manner. Right? They want to get an outcome and you're there to assist them with the outcome. Now what you want to do is set the tone right with the expectation. Don't give them false expectations as to, I can do this, I can do that, and we're, at the end of the day that, you are struggling over there. So, we'll talk about the expectations part, but continuing on over here, there should be no judgment as to, what happened and, how it happened. And if the client starts to say, my dad was doing drugs or my mom was doing drugs and I'm sorry about this, just say, I'm here to help you out, ma'am. I'm here to rectify the situation and I'll get started right now. Less words are needed. No need to talk over there. You're not there as a PSW worker. You're not there as a support worker, mental support worker. They can reach out for all of that later on. Again, like I said, you're there for one specific task. That's it. And also, so just listen, no inputs required. And sometimes the more you talk, it's like, you're falling down the steps and you cannot recover from that. And they will keep the information and they'll use it against you. Right? So keep yourself emotionally distant from the scenario. Again, part of being professional in how you handle the scenario. Now, before going to see them, put on the stuff as I mentioned in the past to at least make sure that you are putting on your blue gloves, the medical gloves, and also as well as your safety glasses. And for sure, you should be having your safety shoes on as well. Okay, professional approach, reaching the job site. Once you reach over there, you ask them, where is the site? You get access. Sometimes they will not go inside with you. Maybe it's a death that happened, let's say 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's a very close family member and they don't want to see it. Maybe it's a father who passed away for a young girl, for example. And so just respect that and just be like, okay, no problem. And you'll go inside and assess the scene, right? For assessment of the scene, you should wear your double gloves, you have your shoe covering, your mask, and go inside and assess it. As part of your assessment, you should make the initial video, the before video, and take pictures as well. Okay. Now, sometimes the work will be more than what was described, and sometimes it will be less. That will happen most of the time. Now, if it's more, don't complain, right? Because what they're doing is describing in words, this is what happened, that's what happened. Sometimes they have not even seen the scene themselves, right? Maybe that's how they were advised by the police. So they never went inside to see the scene. So they're just telling you in words what they have overheard or heard, right? So don't complain if the work is a lot. What you're going to do is, again, handle the scenario as a professional. If, for example, let's say the death happened on the bed, and also let's say the couch close by or the single seater is also impacted, then just make a video. And when you come out to talk to them, you can just tell them, hey, sir or ma'am, there's also another piece of furniture is impacted. So this also has to be taken care of, right? Or the blood you come across and you see that the blood is a lot, and be like, okay, there's more blood than what was described to us, and it seems like maybe the flooring will have to be removed. So handle the scenario in a professional manner. They are trusting you that you know what to do when they're letting you into the scene, right? Now, secondly, as you see the site, you may be thinking that in your head, okay, this might take me 1 to 2 hours or 3 to 4 hours. And I can tell you, especially if you're starting out, guys, estimate most of the times will be incorrect. When you start to initially do the work, it will take more time as you're starting out, especially. And then, of course, as you get better, but still, there's sometimes this, you even if you finish the work in 2 hours, as part of your checkup, your final checkup, it can add anywhere to half an hour to 1 hour time more, because you want to make sure that the place is left in a very good standard condition, right? Basically, what you're going to do is you want to make sure that the place is left in like in a hotel-wise condition, like all the corners, whichever area you worked in, ensure that there's nothing left behind, right? So as part of communication, after seeing the seam, you tell them how much time it will take. And more importantly, if you're going to believe that the floor or any furniture item needs to be removed and disposed of, right? And also you can tell them that this can be salvaged or that can be salvaged. Now, set expectations right. This is again very important to avoid issues later on. Because if you tell them that, for example, I'm going to set this place right, after I'm done from here, it's not going to smell anything like that, then you're giving them a false expectation. And when your work is completed, this odor is still present, for example, they're going to be complaining and complaining and complaining. And so what you're going to do is now, for example, with odor, right? If the death, for example, happened for more than 2 weeks, or like we give you the timelines or different timelines, if you go in there, if you sense or smell that the odor condition has deteriorated a lot because of the presence of the fluids and all that stuff for more than 1 week, then it's highly possible that after your work is complete, that the odor may only reduce by between 30 to 50%. Now, even if the flooring has been removed, still the odor will be present. Why? Because the items which are present in the vicinity are still holding on to the odor, unless it was a vacant spot, right? So stuff like, any clothing, any bedding, any mattresses, any couches, anything which is present in the environment will be holding on to the odor, right? Because it's been exposed to it. So what they got to do is call out for regular cleaners to clean the entire windows, walls, all this other stuff. And for the floor, and if they have to redo the floor, make sure you tell them to apply a sealant, as well as if they have to paint the walls. If let's say, for example, a section of the walls have to be redone, then make sure they apply a sealant before redoing the paint work. So the sealant, what does the sealant do? The sealant basically seals off odors at the sources. Because some odors, even if they get regular cleaners after you are done to clean the walls, to clean the windows, clean the rest of the surfaces, and throw out everything else which is present in the environment, still the odor will be permeating out from the pores. So it's best to seal all those pores in the walls, the drywall, seal all the pores in maybe the concrete, which is a subfloor. That's what they're doing by applying a sealant. Now, second part of setting expectations, in terms of stains, you also have to let them know that some stains may not come off. You're going to try your best. Or in some instances, for example, if you're cleaning up cat feces, for example, dog feces, or human feces, which have been sitting over there on the floor, that's a laminate flooring for a long time, hardwood flooring for a long time, then for sure, guys, that stain is not coming off. You should let the client know before you start work. So what you're actually doing is decontaminating the area, right? You're not really as such cleaning. You're more about cleaning any contamination which is present in that area. So after you're done with the work, what they can do is they can have any other contractor, if needs to, be come in and maybe replace the flooring. If any other, for example, the regular cleaners can come in to clean the rest of the area, or even if they want to come inside the area and can collect any documents, they can also do that too safely. So that's what you're doing. They're making the environment, the area, safe for them to be present, anybody else to be present. And most of the time, if you're using decontamination agent properly according to the label posted, then you should be able to tell them that after 1 to 2 hours they can access the area. Now, take responsibility or be responsible while at work. What do you mean by that? It means being an adult. Now, when you're doing the work, be alert. Don't damage any walls, floors, right? So what you're going to do is, before you start work, when you're assessing the area, right, what you're going to see is, okay, over here is this kind of flooring. Over here, there is this furniture item which is sitting around over here. I should move that first before I start the work. Make space for yourself, right? If you're using the mop, don't leave the wet mop on the wooden surface, on the laminate flooring, right? It's going to leave a stain behind. If you're spraying the decontamination agent, again, work section by section. And why is that? Because you want to be able to contain the area that you're working in, right? You want to make sure that the agent is not really going down to the surface below, especially if you're doing surface level work. For example, the blood is not too much, so you always want to be able to contain it. So when cleaning, the motto is that you should clean to the best standard, right? Think of, when you go to a hotel, the place is absolutely cleaned. You're not able to find anything, around the corners, nothing like that. I mean, if you're going to at least like a 3-star or 4-star above. I've never been to a 5-star hotel or a 4-star hotel. I've been to 3-star hotels. So I know that, if you were to go over there, you're going to find really the cleaning is very top notch. So in the same manner, what you want to do is you want to clean to that standard, right? Yeah, and even after the work is complete, you want to spend at least half an hour, 10 minutes going over everything that you have done. Make sure that you've not missed a spot. Use a paper towel roll, use the decontamination agent with you, and go over any spots that you may have missed. It's better for you to assess and check yourself before the client points it out to you. Because again, if they start pointing out and saying this was missed and that was missed, then they'll always have doubt. Now, if you do end up causing any damage, let's say while removing the couch or something that, tell the client up front is much better than turning around and saying, hey, you know what, that is damaged. For example, in the earlier cases we had when we started out this work, was that when we were taking out the couch, we ended up damaging the stairs. They were wooden stairs. Now, it's an old house, but still the client said that, hey, my stairs are damaged. Now, at that time, what we do is we just compensate the client for that kind of damage, right? It's better not to have that scenario in the first place. So be very careful. If you have to work on the stairs, for example, maybe lay out tarps or whatnot so that you're protecting the area, right? And then another incident we had, just to bring to awareness, where something like what can happen is that taking out the metal bed frame, and you're holding it upright, and it was a ground floor we were working at, and it hit the top of those fake ceiling tiles. Now, only 1.5 tiles were impacted, but still we paid for it, right? So again, not to face those scenarios in the first place is by being alert, by being present. And you're going to assess the place, see where you maybe end up causing a problem. Make space for yourself, guys, when you're doing the work, before you start the work. Now, after the work is complete, after the work is done, what you want to do is walk around and assess. If the client is not close by to the scene, you should call them 20 minutes to 30 minutes before the time and let them know that, hey, the work is almost complete. You should come by and check it out, or come by and pick up the keys as needed. Also, what you want to do is make an after video. And while you're making an after video, guys, if you're doing the job right, making the video part, is that you will find places, things that you've missed. It always happens with me whenever I'm going across with the video. I always find things missed by the maybe the baseboard, maybe that door, the handle, the knob, and stuff like that, switches. You always check all of those items. And what you want to do is use, like I mentioned, a paper towel roll and the decontamination agent, or walk around and make sure that you've not missed anything. Do this before the client sees it. And again, all of this to be as professional as possible, that you have done your work to the T. After the work is done, you give the client the keys back. And if the client is not present, for example, then what you do is, if they have given you, let's say, lockbox information, then you make a video of the lockbox. If you're dropping the keys into a lockbox, you make a video so that you're always covering your back. And also at the same time, again, if the client cannot return back or get back to you, or cannot visit the site, then you communicate to them. And also at that point, when you're meeting up with them, communicate anything that maybe needs to be looked after. Let's say, for example, that maybe they have to call the flooring guy after you are done, or maybe something else that is, maybe there's a leak that you noticed that they should be aware of. So Satan is, again, in a strong, confident manner, and take leave, guys. There's no point of hanging around looking for like a pat on the back. That's it. You do your work, greet the client, and take leave. Now, here comes the other critical part, which is, what if the client criticizes your work? Now, if the client criticizes your work, the first thing what you want to do is check if the criticism is valid. Did you actually miss any spot? Did you actually maybe overpromise? Did you actually mention that you'll be finishing up in certain time? Let's say 5 p.m. and it's 6:30 p.m. and you're still working on it. They're frustrated waiting for you. So that's why I mentioned that you're giving a time span as to how much will be the expected time by which you will be finishing up. Is better to overestimate than to underestimate, and then the client is standing around waiting for you. So be realistic with the timing. And again, if they have mentioned that they've missed any spots, go over it and check it out, finish it up, and just say, sorry, sir, or sorry, ma'am, I missed it. Again, acknowledge. Being an adult is all about acknowledging your fault, acknowledging a mistake. It's okay to make a mistake, just acknowledge it as an adult. Now, most of the criticism, guys, as I mentioned, can be handled, but can be taken care of if you are professional. Basically, professionalism is like a boundary, a line you draw, right? Here you are present over here, and this is the workplace, it's the work site where you're going to do the work, right? And even if people are being friendly with you, same people who are being friendly with you at the start of the work can turn around, those same clients can turn around and start to criticize you. So again, isn't it best not to get a friendly environment, friendly chit chat over there? If you smoke, for example, start to smoke with them and discuss and talk about life and whatnot. Again, as much as possible, we want to reduce this. I'm telling you from experience, guys, and having trained many people in person as well. I've seen this happen. They think that they can have a chat with the client before the work begins or while the work is going on, and they'll say certain things, and that same thing will come to bite them later on. So let's not have that problems, and just, like I mentioned, keep yourself in a distance, get your work done, and be out of it. Right? People handling is just as important as doing the work safely. So criticism can be wiped away by professionalism and how you handle each part. First of all, by being prepared. When you go to a job site, are you prepared? Were you prepared? Did you have all your tools and everything with you? Or did you go to the client up and say, hey, you know what, sorry, sir, ma'am, or I missed it. I didn't bring this. Do you have this with you? Can I use this from you? They will be like, oh, no. They can be no, or they can be like, oh, then they're going to start to doubt you as a person who knows how to handle this, right? Arriving on time, I mentioned, very critical. If you've been given a time, 10 a.m., 8 a.m., or 5 p.m., whatever the time the job is supposed to start, be there before the work starts. You start to build your trust by showing up. Trust is built by actions. So the way you walk, are you lazy, grumpy, you're insecure, or do you walk as a confident, bold person who has got this? Now, it doesn't mean that walk like a gorilla over there eating your chest, but confident, calm manner, and bold at the same time. So the way you talk, are you being timid? Are you afraid of something? Are you afraid of the client? Are you afraid of the scene? Are you afraid of a scenario? Are you afraid of the house? Is too expensive house? Are you talking as a person not affected by all of that? Not affected by who is standing in front of you? That he has to do the work, he knows how to do the work, and he'll do it and he'll get out of it. So what happens is that when you do all of this work, guys, when you show up like this, when you show up as the confident person, then you're taking the burden off the client, right? John or Adam, whoever showed up, I can tell that, they got this. They can feel rested, take a seat back. I have one thing less to worry about, right? Just imagine if you had a car, for example. I'm assuming that most likely you have a car. If you had to go to a mechanic, right, and the mechanic was to tell you, you know what, I don't know how this sound is coming from. Maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. If he keeps on saying, I don't know, you'll be like, maybe I should not leave my car with this person, right? You'll be wasting your time. In the same manner, when you show up over there as a service person, you show up there as a confident service person. The way you talk, the way you walk, the way you act. Now, during the work, how you tackle the challenging part, right? Again, you have to be an adult. Most of the time, there'll be something new that you come across that you have not seen in the previous scenarios. So in that uniqueness that you come across, how do you encounter that? How do you deal with that? You can assess, decide, and execute on the best course of action. Hesitation leads to fear, fear to indecision, and indecision to loss in battle. And this is in a way a battle, guys, that you guys are going out to every single time. And you have to win it every single time. And can you do it? Of course, 100%. I've done it. After the work is complete, take care of your stuff. Present the place in a presentable manner. Maybe a chair or a coffee table, whatever it is. Put it back properly. These actions add care that you took care of this scenario, not just just left it in a grumpy manner. I'm done over here. Now, we mentioned that if keys were given to you, return the keys back, right? If you had access to a lockbox, make sure you're making a video of putting the keys back into the lockbox. If the client is not coming back, then also send them a text. If the client is not coming back, make sure all the windows are closed before you close up, before you lock up, right? Just drop especially if you have to drop the keys into a lockbox. Once upon a time, we did do this mistake. We were working in an apartment and we cleaned up the place, and we, by mistake, left the window open. It was a cold December night, and I remember that the next 1 week later, the client had not gone to see the place, and they went to see the place because it was a relative who had passed away. They went to see the place, and they found pigeon feces in there. A pigeon had gotten inside, and so we had to go back and now clean up after pigeon feces. So you want to avoid that. You want to make sure that all the windows are closed as you're walking out. Make sure all the lights are off. If you had used any faucet, any taps, make sure they're in the closed off position. No water dripping, no pool of water left behind. This should be part of your check before you call a client. Check all switches, all baseboards. Be an investigator of your own work and see if you missed any spot. If you work in a building, then make sure that the hallways, the common hallways, right, they are left in a good condition. You sweep up if there was some mess left behind. If somebody else is locking up like a security guard, make sure you are taking their name. And when you're sending them a message to the client, you can tell them that such person is locked up, or you give the keys back to XYZ. So once you're done with your work, you meet the client, describe what got done, how it is safe for them to go ahead and use the space, possibly after 1 to 2 hours. Say good night or good day and you can be on your way. There's no need to wait around looking for a pat on the back. If the client cannot make it, then text them in brief what got done, anything again that needs their attention, and if the keys were left in a spot, then let them know, and that's about it. Now, what if the client is just throwing a tantrum? If you have done your part, then this is the time to stand strong, be firm, and you can let them know that you've decontaminated the space as per the work request. If there's any more services they require, then there'll be extra. Now, this is where you respect the client, but also respect yourself. And you can pass a message, guys, without getting angry, but being firm. Most of your problems will be gone if you were to just act professional from the time you show up. Every single step adds trust. If there's something that they're complaining about, that means something in their head that probably says no. Something in their head where they're still doubting you. Now, for sure, they may be projecting their own insecurities or their own issues on you, and that's not something that, for you to be working or tackling for them. You just have to do your part and get on it. And this is also the part where you have to have a psychological shield. Be strong at the same time and defend your work. But at the same time, no need to raise the voice, no need to get angry. This is how a mature adult handles conflicts, right? If you make a mistake, guys, just admit it. It's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. We are humans. We are bound to make mistakes. I have made mistakes myself at job sites, and I've gone and owned my mistakes to the client. I would say 95% to 99% of the time, the client has just said, don't worry about it, Adam. If there's something that can rectify that on my own, I go ahead and rectify it for them. Now, what if they're critiquing the way you're doing the work? Maybe they will say that, hey, you know what, you're not doing this right. Maybe you're supposed to use this chemical, you're supposed to do it this way. Then again, tell them in a firm but kind manner. Just, sir or ma'am, please stand aside. I'm working to making this area safe. Clean in a calm and confident manner, and most of the voices will calm down. When does this happen? Most of the time this happens when somebody else has requested you to do the work. Maybe it's a landlord who has requested you to do the cleanup. Maybe it's a property manager who has requested to do the cleanup. And the person present over there is a tenant or a relative or somebody else who's present over there, giving you access, being present and overlooking. Those are the people who may be complaining. So again, what you do is you always communicate with the client that, hey, you know what, I'm trying to do my work and person XYZ is not allowing me to do my work, and send them a text, put it in a written format. And if the tenant is just still being obnoxious and not letting you continue, then, just go ahead and let the client know that, due to this denial of access, you have to leave. That's it. Now, what if the client asks you to do more work than was prescribed? That comes down to your personal preference, guys. For me, myself, if it's like an old lady who wants a couch to be moved, for the plants to be moved around, I can do that. But if it's like an extra service, which is of doing the entire washroom, that for sure, they have to pay for it. Now, a quick recap. Dealing with clients, in terms of expectations, set it right in the beginning. In terms of odor, stains, make sure you tell them in advance before you start the work. As you assess the place, you will know that you know what the odor is at this state, and yeah, after my work is complete, it will go down to X percentage. And same for the stains as well. You know, if it says laminate flooring, hardwood flooring, concrete flooring, once it's stained, for example, those stains will stay. They're not coming off. And same if the advice of the items which have to be salvaged or not salvaged, if they are porous or non-porous in nature, talk confidently. This, guys, I have to say, has to be probably the most important part. This and setting expectations right in the beginning. Because if you're not being confident in your approach, if you're not being confident in how you are dealing with the scenarios, if you're not being a mature adult, then you'll face many problems. I guarantee that, right? From the time you show up, every single action, be that person that you're going to take care of it. Yeah, be the adult person. If you make a mistake, admit it. You will be smooth sailing in this roller coaster that others going through, and this traumatic experience that other people going through. You'll be like that calm sail. Talk less and move on. In one moment, the client was being friendly and chit-chatting and laughing and all the stuff will turn around and start to criticize you. So, and I've seen this happen many times. Again, from my 6.5 years, clients at the start of the day, being friendly, very nice. But at the end of the day, when they're turning back, maybe they are stressed out from their own day. And so the best way is to talk less and move on. Avoid unnecessary damages while doing the work, like damage to the walls, doors, stairs, while taking out any contents or your own supplies. Don't leave any wet rags on the furniture or mops on the wooden flooring. Be alert, okay? Never ever steal any cash, jewelry. Sometimes those items are placed as a test for you to see if you're going to take them, a $20 or $5 bill, just sitting on the top of the counter, just sitting on top of the dresser, whatever it is. There can be cameras. We have done jobs where there have been cameras, there's been audio recording devices. So be careful, guys, about what you see and what you do. So give them the money if you found anything. If you find anything like a $50 bill, $100 bills, we have been to places where we have found more than $2,000 in cash, and we have always returned it back. Now, or you may or may not get the reward for it. Like, they may just take the entire money, just put it in their pocket without giving you anything, and that's fine, right? You are there to do the right thing. Now, one of the last points is also that if they have pets and you have to go and do the work, you should tell them before you start the work that they are supposed to contain the pets. They're responsible for them, especially not for them to be running around. And that's it. That was the most important part. Anybody can learn, guys, how to do the cleanup. Anybody can become the best so-called cleaner. But it is about handling human emotions, handling human conflicts that distinguishes the accomplished from the ones who did not make it. So remember the core mindset: don't be timid, but be confident, calm, and bold in taking action. Confidence solves most problems.